We sometimes forget that running for leisure hasn't really been around for that long. We're seeing more and more running shoes at the moment with these sort of aged looks, upper designs based on older shoes from the 70s, drawing upon the past to create something new for the future. My name's EDDBUD, and today on the Shoe Files, I'm asking the question as to whether running shoe uppers have really changed all that much for the better. Thanks for joining me on the channel, guys. It's always appreciated. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when we roll out the new videos for you. And give this video a thumbs up like and share it with your running buddies. Mucho gracias. When we look at something like the Nike Tailwind here, it seems like a huge departure from what we have now. There's lots of suede here, strange mesh, and overall quite a weighty shoe, but still really comfortable on foot. You can't really compare it to something like this, can you? Everything's changed, or has it? Some technologies developed years ago still work superbly with shoes released even this year, but where does the line between tried and tested formulas end and aesthetic appeal only begin? Does the upper on a running shoe really make all that much difference at all? Or is it just purely an aesthetic thing to try and lure us into another purchase? I think for me, valued viewers, it's always about performance over looks. If the shoe fits and it gets the best out of me, then I really don't care what logo's on the side of it or what colour it is. There's occasionally a shoe that comes along that I really want to get, something like the Adios Pro 2 in that Berlin Marathon colourway, for example. But then again, something like the Adios 4 really does it for me as well. Just that really simple Adidas 3-stripe look. You can't go wrong, can you? Nike have recently begun integrating deconstructed feels into their running shoes. I can't help but feel it stems from some of those Virgil Abloh takes on their basketball shoes over the last few years. That Jordan 5 deconstructed style off-white release really felt more like an old school Nike running shoe, like the old WAFFLE runners with those exposed foam tongues. The Tailwind here with that exposed foam tongue really is the blueprint for that Virgil Abloh off-white Jordan 5. They've even begun to use aged, or appears to be aged, parts on the eyelets and the outsoles as well to give that retro vibe, seen here on the Jordan 5 Jade Horizon release that I was really pleased to pick up. That deconstructed vibe is also present on the ALPHAFLY Next Nature, as well as on those Vaporfly Next Percent prototype models from last year. We see the vapor weave from the original version of the Next Percent appear on a new Air Max shoe as well, only a couple of weeks ago. The same upper materials there on the recent Nike Air Max Terrascape. So again, it's Nike dipping back into the history books, pulling a silhouette that we all know, adding a few materials that make it modern and seem to fit, I suppose, with their current racing lineup. I guess back in the day when the Air Max 3 or Air Max 90 was released, people sort of gawked at it and said, "That's a running shoe, you've just gone too far this time, Nike." Now that silhouette is just completely accepted. It's not really outlandish at all. See the grid-like toe box and upper heel collar there, and tongue give off a very specific design feel, almost bridging the gap between 1990s and the current race lineup. It is the most popular race shoe, certainly at the moment. There were hundreds of them at the recent Yeovil Half Marathon. New Balance have provided numerous alternative versions of their RC Elite 2 shoe as well this year. There are in fact some drastic changes to the upper on the Stone Island version of the shoe. Cream portions across the tongue and those strange overlays as well. It's like somebody's got to work on them with a pair of scissors. Certainly a very unique, if unconventional version of the shoe. I think I prefer the original purple one. Again, does any of this really matter though in terms of performance? I can't see that adding loads of extra overlays to a shoe is going to add to the performance. It's going to add to the weight, certainly. Saucony are another brand that have mixed in some of those old school vibes into their current top line race shoes. Some of you will remember the Icon Pack from 2021. It celebrated the 40th anniversary of their Jazz model with an upper refresh to the whole Endorphin line amongst others. Certainly a nod to the past there, and that 70s running boom I talked about earlier. There's been a whole load of different colorways of the Speed and the Pro over the last couple of years. It's almost impossible to keep track of them all. Yet they did release an alternative version of the Pro. Was it the Pro Plus, I think? Which was actually a hell of a lot lighter. All the others are just sort of smoke and mirrors, I suppose. Now, there might be some of you out there that prefer nothing more than a wonderful black and white colorway of a shoe. No outlandish high-vis logos or different coloured laces, though often we are out of luck when it comes to a very simple colorway. Nike, Saucony and Hoka often knock it out the park in the first innings with some truly nausea-inducing colorways from time to time. Who designs these and then selects this specific one as the launch colorway? I mean, you want to really sell a shoe, don't you, to runners? Have a really attractive launch colorway. And what you got to remember is that runners are spoilt for choice these days. There's so many different models, different versions of shoes. Why would you go for something like that as the first iteration or the first release? Some of Nike's current casual lifestyle running shoes were the top tier equipment back in the day on launch, but now they're relegated to just casual shoes, despite perhaps not being all that much heavier than the current high-tech Zoom Air React equipped models. You know the ones I'm talking about, something like this, or perhaps the Miler. Are you really getting all that much more than something like the Tailwind, for example? I might actually use this one tomorrow morning. I mean, that said, you can run a marathon in a pair of dress shoes if you wanted to. It might not be the most comfortable experience of your entire life, but you could do it. The Waffle Trainer 2 and the newly released Waffle 1 carry that heritage forward, with nods to the Vaporfly Next Percent and those original 70s Nike running models. They've mixed them together almost perfectly right down the middle. So you've got hints there of the current lineup and some stuff from before. Running shoe aesthetics and looks are quite subjective though, aren't they? So it's easy to say, if you like the shoe, then wear it. But people are often too worried that the shoe might be really colourful, they might stand out. Some runners don't want to do that, they just want to sort of disappear into the background. They might be worried about what other people may have to say about their new purchase. I say if it makes you happy, then great. Wear whatever you like. Quite often I get posts on Instagram or email and they say, oh, why'd you wear this running shoe for running this sort of pace or whatever? And I just say, I'm going to wear whatever I want. Thank you. Don't be led by somebody else. Wear what makes you happy and makes you feel comfortable. If you want to wear a pink shoe, do it. If you want to change the laces out in your black shoe and put some high-vis ones in there, why not? The issue for me is where a shoe model is changed purely for the sake of it. Style over substance. I touched on that a little bit in the last episode of the Shoe Files, but there's still more to be said. There are numerous shoe models that I've tried out where the manufacturer has tried to improve the profile of the shoe, but fouled it up big time. The Reebok Run Fast 3, for example, a travesty of an upper compared to the simple and effective version 2. That was just for me. People loved the Zoom Fly Flyknit, didn't they? So many people really enjoyed that shoe, and still do. But Nike just couldn't leave it alone. They replaced the upper with Vaporweave and half of a wetsuit with the Zoom Fly 3. And then they've gone back to something that's not really Flyknit in the Zoom Fly 4. Not too sure what's happening with that one. So, does a shoe's looks trump the performance for you? Is there a certain shoe that you really still want to put on, even though it doesn't really give you everything you want? I gotta be honest, if a shoe just doesn't perform, it gets relegated and possibly dumped off to the side. I did persist a little bit with the Boston 10 and it got a little bit better. That was one of those shoes. Or is it performance and price rather than colourways for you? Let me know if you're an odd colourway sale hoarder. If you spot one of those discount shoes in a strange colourway but you can't help yourself. Or are you one of the haute couture brigade and only a £295 Nike Air Zoom ALPHAFLY Next Nature is good enough for you? You know, the one that's heavier than the discounted old model that's £185 right now. So for me, the majority of the time, performance trumps aesthetics all the way. Have running shoe uppers got better over time? I don't think they have, actually. By trying to solve a couple of different issues with an upper, they tend to actually mess up a couple of other areas that were fine. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. A musical interlude for you. I've been listening to the fantastic album from the Stray Cats called 40. This one was released in 2019 and it really sees a return to form for the trio. Absolute favourite track though on the album is I Attract Trouble. Sounds like a modernised version of a Link Ray tune, something like Rumble for example. Really mean, some attitude there, some growling guitars, thumping drums, everything that you'd want from a Stray Cats tune. 3 Times the Charm is another fantastic standout track from this album. Some brilliant playing there, just so simple as well. You can hear all the lyrics, the tones of the guitars and the standout bass are just right. Go and check it out if you've missed it guys and you're into that rockabilly sound. 40 from the Stray Cats. The legs are slowly coming back to life guys, so I can get out and review some of the shoes that I have stockpiled here in the shoe sanctuary. So look out for a review of the Flow Velocity Wind 2 from Under Armour, and of course that Nike Terracotta 8 that I picked up a little while back. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when we roll out those new videos for you. Give this video a thumbs up, like and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you